use blood sacrifices because there's something in the blood and the sacrifice. But isn't it wonderful that that is not necessary anymore? That Jesus became that last and final sacrifice for sin and shed His blood for us. So the religions of the world are seeking those same answers. How can mankind be justified with God? That universal human spirit cries out because the universal human spirit realizes that there's guilt upon us, and we seek refuge. It's at this point that the good news of the gospel of Jesus Christ rings true. The voice of God says there's love, there's acceptance, and there is forgiveness for all who come to God through Jesus Christ. Point number 3. Paul says he's dead to the law, but alive in Christ. But if, while we seek to be justified by Christ, we ourselves also are found sinners, is Christ therefore a minister of sin? Certainly not. For if I build again those things which I destroyed, I make myself a transgressor. In other words, he's talking about those things that he destroyed when he became dead to the law and alive to Christ. For I, through the law, died to the law that I might live to God. I've been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me, and the life which I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God, who loved me and gave himself for me. I do not set aside the grace of God, for if righteousness comes through the law, then Christ died in vain. Man, what a lawyer. What a statement. Christ wanted Jew and Gentile to be one, no more division or separation. And Paul ends verse 17 with the strongest possible negative in the Greek when he says, may it never be. Verses 19 and 20, Paul says that he died to the law and accepted grace so that he might live by faith in the Son of God. He died to the law. All the law did for him was enable him to know he couldn't keep it. Ever thought of that? How many of you make a New Year's resolution? You do? Well, I'm going to ask another question. How long do you keep it? You've kept it every day this year so far. And what is that? Not missing one day of listening to your daily Bible. Yeah, but you have missed some days because you tell me from time to time, hey, I'm behind on my Bible listening. I've got to catch up. Okay, but you couldn't keep it all year long. You couldn't keep it all day long. You haven't done it every day. You've made up for it. By your works, you've made up for it. Oh boy, yes. You're absolutely right. Romans chapter 6, verse 23. Aren't we having fun? The wages of sin is death. I've been crucified with Christ. It's no longer I who live, but Christ lives in me. Paul is saying in the spiritual sense, when Christ died on the cross, in a sense, Paul came alive in Christ by placing his faith in him. Now, in conclusion, In verse 21, Paul concludes by confessing that his righteousness is a gift. He